Welcome everyone to today's episode. And my goodness, you're going to have a lot of fun because I know I'm going to with my good friend Marc Haine, all the way from Edmonton in Canada. Beautiful part of the world that I've been desperately wanting to go to for years, and hopefully will soon be able to have another white Christmas and just look at the snow. Because every time I see anything about Canada, it's always some black bear catching a salmon in a river and then beautiful mountain ranges. It looks fantastic. So let me tell you a little bit about Marc before we get into our conversation. So Marc is a customer and employee experience strategist, keynote speaker, consultant, and author of Lights, Camera, Action with over 30 years of experience in hospitality. There's the book. In hospitality, retail, and other customer-facing industries. Marc has created unique frameworks to empower businesses to transform everyday operations into extraordinary experiences. He's dynamic, he's humorous, he has a very authentic style that makes him relatable and engaging, and that's what you're going to hear when we have this conversation today. As a teacher and an author, corporate trainer, speaker, facilitator, actor, and closet comedian, Marc Haine's core values of humor, humility, staying uncomfortable, and being of service ground him in connecting with audiences and service providers alike. And why, we're going to have this discussion today, Marc and I, is because we love hospitality, but we love that opportunity to create these amazing experiences with customers, both internal and external. So welcome, Marc, to my podcast. And it's great to have you. So look, fill in my audience a little bit more about what's your expertise and having this business and its connection with the hospitality industry, over the last 3 decades.
Yeah, so something really interesting happened to me in 2016. I've been 30 years in hospitality, running hotels, casinos, restaurants. I was kind of like the fixer. I
Mm-hmm.
get contracted into properties like hotel properties that have more competition than they're in their marketplace, and had owners come to me going, "Marc, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything." And so they bring me in with as a second or a different pair of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we were able to reinvent kind of the operations and how people viewed their businesses. But in 2016, I had a colleague come into my office. I was working as an economic development officer for a town,
Mm-hmm.
and they had brought me on board because the town, beautiful little town, small town, 5,800 people.
Mm.
They had a beautiful river valley here in Edmonton. And people would go online. They say, "We had a wonderful day at the riverfront. I love the park. I love all the fire pits that they have. The campgrounds are gorgeous to go. It's too bad when we went into town, the gas station attendant or the pharmacist or the hardware store person treated me like a pariah."
Yes.
And so the town knew that they needed to do something different. And so they brought me on board as a specialist in to basically train the businesses in the community
Right.
on five-star service excellence.
Mm.
And it was a turning point for me because it was the very first time that I actually got to peek into other businesses, and I realized all the issues I had seen in hospitality that I thought
Mm.
was endemic just to my environment of hospitality was in every single business.
Yes.
Like I used to joke, I used to say to people, "Oh, hospitality is great. If it wasn't for all the people, it would be a cinch."
Yes.
Right? But then I realized that all the optometrist office, the hardware store, the restaurants, the
Mm.
gas stations, the welding shop, everybody had basically the same challenges. And
Yes.
that was this idea that people, as our major stakeholders,
Mm.
create our best opportunity, but they also can be our biggest challenges.
Yeah, definitely. And we need people. And so it's getting the right people in the right role, as Gino Wickman, says throughout all his books. And you're correct. It doesn't matter what industry that we're in. We are front facing. We need to interact with people. Even though we may be online with some of our businesses, we still need that human face. Because I don't know about you, Mark, but I get quite frustrated. And I know for my clients when, something's not right with an online business and there's no human connection. It's either a
Mm.
chatbot or it's just, trying to fish for an email. So that's why people love and come to businesses when there's somebody that they can have a conversation with. Just
Yeah,
help
it's
me.
so interesting that you said that
Yes.
because I was trying to work on my internet here before we got live, and so I went onto my onto the website to say, what's going on with my internet that it keeps cutting out and popping off and popping on, and so it sent me to. I went to the web page. I couldn't find a telephone number. I go to support. There's a chatbot, and then you go through all the rigmarole through the chatbot, and then it says, "Do you want to connect to an agent?" And it's like, "Yes, I'd like to connect to an agent." And then I get on the call, and there's a countdown timer. Your customer number 61. I was just like, I, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Not at 61.
No,
No.
I will figure this out for myself, even if I've got to walk outside and hold it up to the sky. But it is, and I know when they probably feel businesses when they're showing you that countdown timer or where you are in the queue, and they'll say, you're the fifth in the queue, you're the fourth in the queue. I don't know whether that it appease and makes me feel better or creates that more anxiety of like, as you said, oh, 61, I could be here for forever. Because what are those other 60 people going? Are they going to be long talks? Are they going to be short talks? Have they got 500 people sitting there for those 60 calls? Or is it just one person in a lame duck going, hello? And you don't
Yep.
know. So I think
I,
people.
I think it's I think it's an overall philosophy of just dangling hope. That's we'll give you the number. We'll just dangle the hope, and then and then you could stay on.
It's just quite funny. I was thinking a number of years ago, I had a client and they had this board. Somebody must have sold them this idea because they didn't have it for very long, but it was near the counter in their bistro and it would have roasts and it had like 65 roasts and then it would have steaks and palmies and they'd be counting down how many they had left and you'd be in the queue and I'm one of these people. I've already read the menu. I've got the idea. My husband's really opposite. He's slow. He's already looked at the menu online in the car. He'll sit down and he reads it from page to page. I already know what he's going to have. It's always going to be a chicken stitch, a lot of palmy. Why read it or fish and chips? Why read the. And he goes, and I'm standing there going, 65, 64, 66, 56.
Because today might be different.
But it was this anxiety. Everybody in the line going, they could literally see the food being taken away from them. Like, oh, no, that's a great idea. But it was a talking point. So we've got to think
Yes.
about how are our businesses seen, and sometimes these things that maybe that little bit gimmicky can have a little bit of fun can cause more irritation than what we're looking for. Now, look, let's have a look at your book and some of the comments that you've made in there, and we can spark off some questions. So it you really draw some fascinating parallels in the book between that live theatre and business operations. And to me, it's so true, isn't it, Mark? We talk about owning your mood, you come into the workplace, the curtains are drawn back, the lights are on the camera, and we're there to smile because otherwise, our members, our guests, our customers, our clients, our diners, they may as well just stayed at home and just looked at themselves because you can order food, you can order drinks, you can do whatever you like at home now. So they've made the point of coming out. So how are we going to interact with them? So what inspired you to blend these two seemingly different worlds between theatre and operations? And how does this analogy help hospitality leaders?
So again, interesting. When I was working for the community, I
Mm.
had a lady who was one of my colleagues come knocking on my door, and she says, "Mark, you act right." And I said, "Well, I act silly and I act goofy, and sometimes, well, most times just immature." And she goes, "No, no, no, like I mean on stage."
Mm.
And I said, "No, I've never acted on stage." And then she proceeded to tell me about this troupe that she belonged to, that they do dinner theaters, and she thought I would be really good for one of the parts. And it was
Ah.
one of those things I've always kind of wondered, could I do it? I encouraged my kids to do drama, and I
Mm.
saw what it did for them. But to be honest, I was just, 3 years into public speaking, like through Toastmasters. I didn't know if I had the confidence to do this. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. How am I going to remember lines? Anyway,
And
I
that
went
was
to the
30 years
audition,
ago.
and that right. And so I went to the audition, I got the part. And then I stressed. And I have to tell you, 4 months of rehearsals, I have to tell you, it doesn't matter how funny the script is, nothing is funny after 3 months. It's just not. You're just there, just doing it. And in 3.5 months, you're there going, oh, we're like half a month away from showtime. And I don't know all these lines. And you stress yourself out.
Yes.
And then it's opening night. And I'm stuck behind a door The house lights go down to black. The music starts to play. The lights flood the stage. I'm backstage holding my hand on the doorknob, completely in the black. I open the door and step onto the stage. Flooded with light. I can't see the audience. I can't see anything. My colleague comes in from the other side. We open our lines and we hear 200 people laughing.
Yeah.
Now I
Perfect.
can tell you at 3.5 months, it's like, why did I do this? I don't understand. This is crazy.
Yes.
And right in that moment, standing there and hearing that laughter, and I realized that's why we did what we did.
Yes.
And when I thought about it, it was such an epiphany for me because I got goosebumps. And it
Mm.
was such an epiphany to me. The very next day, I came in 2 hours early and I walked into the venue and I turned on the stage lights before I turned on the house lights. And it was the first time I saw what the audience saw.
Ah,
And
yes.
just from the staging, just looking at the stage, and I could see time, place. I
Mm.
could get a sense of where we were. So the play was called A Night in Provence. So
Mm.
here we are in a French villa on the stage,
Mm.
and I just thought this was unique because it was something I have always believed when it came down to hospitality. But
Mm.
it was I turned on the house lights, I sat on the couch, and I looked at everything we had done.
Mm.
We had to coordinate the caterers. We had to build out the stage and build up the stage. We had a set builder, but we had to help.
Mm.
We had to go through 4 months rehearsals. We had to hire the caterers. We had to hire the bar staff. We had to coordinate all the whole event.
Mm.
And I sat on the couch at that point and I looked at everything and I thought, if businesses put the time, attention, and focus into their business that we did just to put on 6 shows, we would have amazing businesses.
Yes. So
And
how
that was the catalyst for the book.
Yeah. And it's so true, as you said there, I know when I work with my clients, particularly in the dining space and in the cafe, and we always say, our eyes choose, through the words, through the menu, or the pictures that we see, or the display of tasty cakes. I don't know about you, Mark, but every time I always go up, I always go, I'm not going to have a slice of cake. I'm not going to. And then you get up there and you go, oh my gosh. And I always say to the register person, I was only going to have a coffee, but oh my gosh, I'm sure they hear it 1,000 times a day. But the fact is, I say to staff, come from behind the bar, come from behind the cafe and look what they look like. And I know even in my early days when I started my business working with offices, I used to say to the CEOs and all to say, come out and sit in your reception. Feel how lumpy those chairs are that you've got and the Reader's Digest and all those old books that people don't want to read. What are they looking at? Can we see the knees of your receptionist or do we have that vanity board? Or are we just seeing little heads? And they really do, as you rightly said, sit in the seats of your audience, sit in the seats of
Mhm.
the customer, and see what they see. And it's a totally different world, isn't it?
It really is. And to that point, on my website, I do have a touch point assessment that just does that, just that. It's a checklist
Yeah.
that you walk through your business and you
Mm.
see what your customers see. Because I think as an operator, I think we lose sight of some
Yes.
of the important things. A perfect example is I walked into a dollar store. It was the fall, and every time you open the door, it would blow leaves into the foyer,
Mm.
all around all the little shopping carts.
Hmm.
And I thought, if somebody was focused and took a look at the set,
Mm.
somebody would have said, we need to do something about this.
Yes.
This is because as you opened up, you had this little whirlpool of leaves coming into right, and it was unnecessary.
Mm.
And just a little bit of focus, we could have changed that and could change that whole perceptual effect that having kind of the outdoors blown indoors. I mean, it
Yes.
was fall. It was but nobody wants it around the stuff that they're buying.
And the thing is, it's people taking action, isn't it? It's people being accountable for a job that perhaps is not in their job description, but they're thinking about how does that look? How does that look to our customer? How is that impacting them? Yeah. So it's those
You're right, but I
moments.
think you're absolutely right. It's about action, but first and foremost, it's about intentionality.
Yes, yes.
So if everybody on the crew understands that this is our stage, like one of the things we did in another play, we were doing a play that was centered around a golf course. And so I went down to the actual golf course and I got some scorecards and broken pencils and we put them in the garbage. We never used them, but
No.
it just helped with that. When you were pacing around the golf course, the set, and you saw the golf magazine and the torn up golf cards and the broken pencils in the garbage, it helps lend a
Mm.
sense of why you're there,
Yes, yes.
right? And so when we're thinking about our store, when we're thinking about what are the values that are important to us,
Mm.
does everything in your store pertain to that value
Yes, yeah.
and
It's
to the
about
values?
yes,
Yeah,
very much so. It's about setting that scene, isn't it? It's creating those wow moments. And wow moments don't have to cost money, do they, Mark?
no.
You know what you've just said then, it's just that little bit of intentionality, using your own intuition in your own initiative and seeing what's out there. Can you give some tips perhaps to leaders, both those that have been in, hospitality for a long time, but also those leaders that are coming through, the supervisors, the team leaders in how do they sell these wow ideas and this idea of setting the scene to frontline team members who perhaps it's the first job and they just don't understand and it's no fault of theirs. What are some tips that you think you may have to share with them?
And which is really interesting because to your point, I have trained multiple leaders,
Mm.
and it's funny how many times I'll get the quote, I don't understand why they don't get it. It's common sense.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, well, it's common sense to you because you grew up in this. This is their first exposure to something. So,
Yes.
first and foremost, if you want to have an environment that is putting on a show for the customers,
Mm.
you must model it with your staff.
Mm.
You can't be yelling and screaming at your staff. I want you to be polite to your to the customers. I want you to be respectful. That's not going to work. Because as soon as you close the door, you've just modeled the kind of behavior that's important to you, which is yelling and screaming and, having little explosions.
Yeah.
So we have to model it first and foremost. And
Mm.
by modeling it, you tell the employees without even saying anything, you
Mm.
tell them what's important to you. You're showing your values.
Mm.
And it's those shared values. If you treat them with kindness, they're
Mm.
going to treat their customers with kindness. And
Yeah.
when they don't, you can paint a picture of what your mission is, and then you can test them against it. So, we said, everything on time, with time.
Mm.
And so you came in like 20 minutes late. If that's our mission, how did coming in 20 minutes live up to that? Well, it didn't.
Yes.
You're right, it didn't. So what are we going to do next time? Well, maybe next time if I'm going to get caught, I'll call you.
Mm.
That would be great. Can you make sure we do that? Oh, absolutely. And then you go on,
Mm.
right? All too often it's like, oh, you're 20 minutes late. We're going to give you a write up. And we go all kind of corporate on people because they didn't behave the way we expect them to behave. Or
Mm.
even worse, it's like, oh, this is the first time he's coming late. So we'll just ignore it. Just let him get to work because I don't want to be,
Yes.
it'll be fine.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the worst thing you can do is ignore bad behavior.
Mm.
I'm a big fan. When you see good behavior, recognize and reward it. But
Yes.
when you see bad behavior, you must address it. Even if it's the first time, you need to say something
Yes.
about it. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, bad behavior will always, always evolve into worse
Mm.
behavior.
Definitely. And I think, and I love those tips, so thank you. But I think when it comes down to that bad behavior or that behavior that doesn't match with your values, they may not even know that what they've done is wrong. They may not even understand that by them coming in 20 minutes late, what that domino effect is on the other team members. So the team member who should have been setting up over there has now had to come into your role. And so it's not, as you said, it's not coming in and screaming at them going, do you know what you've done? Just get on with it, or ignoring it. It's actually saying, can I just have a chat to you by that 20 minutes? This is what's occurred, because they've got to own it, don't they? Otherwise, as you've rightly said, it will just grow and it will fester. And the person, they just think, oh, well, this is a norm. I've gotten away with it. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. Nobody pulled me up the first time. I've heard that a few times. Why have you come to me, for the 12-month review to tell me I did something wrong at the
Mm,
start of the year? But it's the way that you handle it too, isn't it?
yeah.
Um,
Well, so a core premise of my book
mm,
is around expectations.
yes.
So I do believe that as human beings, every time we come into a transaction, you and I on the show, we
Mm,
have expectations on how it's going to go.
yes.
Every time we walk into a store, we have an expectation of how it's going to go. And so expectations are a very, very big part of our human dynamic.
Mm,
And so whether you're dealing with a customer or an employee, there's all these expectations. And most are completely unwritten. We don't have any definable rule about the expectations. We just have kind of the bubble we're in and we were
Mm.
brought up with, our beliefs, our
Yes.
value systems, and they do as well. And where we have the clash is where their values, belief systems, and their bubble is a different bubble than we have, and we
Yes.
clash.
Yes.
Being able to paint a picture of what expectations are. What does great customer experience look like in your business?
Mm.
Can you paint that? Can you actually write down what that expectation is?
Yes.
Because the minute you do, you can test against it. You
Mm.
can go to your NPR ratings. You can go and do your surveys or talk to your clients and say, this is a mission that we have. Did we live up to it today?
Yes, yes. Did we and get that feedback and listen to it? I think, so often, how many times do we get surveys from restaurants? If you're listening to the podcast, Mark is just like shrunk. And it is so true. We get these surveys and we go, we'd really love your feedback. And we either A, don't respond or we don't look at it. Now, I stayed down at a hotel last week with down in Canberra, so that's capital of Australia. It's a hotel that's been there probably 50 years. It's been there not that long, but it's been there for a long time. So when I looked at it, it was the most expensive in the area. So this is a little village outside of Canberra itself. It was about $189, but they were saying it was 4 stars. And I'm thinking, gee, 4 stars for $189 Australian. What's this going to be like? And so my expectations were sort of like it'll be okay. The sheets will be clean because, I was thinking for that price range, what it's going to be. And I know for some listeners, it might be sounding like I'm a snob, but I was just saying, you get so used to looking at 4 star hotels that are that 500, 600, top 400. And, so I thought, well, we got there. It was freezing cold. It was literally -4 when we got there. They go, oh, your room's upstairs. And I'm thinking, oh, great. So, we cut our bags upstairs. We walked into that room and honestly, it was absolutely beautiful. Now, all right, it wasn't one of the big hotels. It wasn't a chain. It was a family that run it. Everything had been totally renovated. Beautiful new carpet, the bathroom. They had bath sheets, not those towels, Mark, that can only hold a 4-year-old child. No, a proper bath sheet. They were white. Everything was spectacular. So when I came out, I thought, oh, well, nobody was there because we left early. So I just left the key. I thought, I really do hope I get a survey from them. Well, I did. But it wasn't a survey of 1,000 questions. It was just that if you'd like to make a comment, we'd really appreciate it. So I wrote them a nice little, I'm not kidding, within about half an hour, I got this beautiful response. Oh, thank you so much for showing them. And I said, that's fine. I'm going down there, taking the children there, my grandchildren next week for another 2 days. And there wasn't just a survey with a tick and flick a box. It was a survey that was generally came from their heart. And then they responded. That's what makes the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting to see, people who post on social media. Like we know perfectly well that, when you see a review on social media, it's either somebody who hated it or somebody who loved it.
Yes,
And
yes.
a lot of times there's a lot of promotional things on. Please give us 5 stars and we'll give you a 10% discount on your next
Yeah,
purchase kind of programs, which
yes.
is fine.
Mm.
But what's interesting is that when people put lousy comments down, I'm shocked at how many times they're just ignored.
Yes, yes.
And I actually did a presentation at the California Restaurant Show last year. It
Mhm.
was called How to Respond to Harsh Online Reviews, and respond is an acronym.
Mm.
And there's a formula that you can use. It is so easy to respond to harsh online reviews
Mm.
that make you look like you're the good guy. It makes you look like you take accountability. It looks like
Yes.
you stepping up to make sure you're taking care of your guests. And
Mm.
all too often, unfortunately, when people do respond, somehow ego gets in the way. And I saw this when I used to do secret shopping. I'd
Mm.
be contracted to go into a store and, can you please do a secret shopping and all this, and then they get all mad and they call me up and they go, can I talk to you about this report? I said, sure. You said the secret shopper said there are fingerprints on the doors.
Yeah.
Okay, but why do I care? There's fingerprints on the doors. I said, well, do you care? But that doesn't tell them how good the food is. Right? And it was interesting that they got their knickers in a twist over the observation that
Mm.
there were fingerprints on the door.
Yes. Mm.
And I thought that was really interesting. This whole thing that we put our ego behind it and then we judge and we become judgmental.
Mm.
The service was a little bit slow. Do you know how busy it was? We had so many. And my only thought is, does the customer care? It's
Yes.
about expectations.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if the observation was it waited 25 minutes for our appetizers,
Mm.
what's your policy? What is your deliverable? Is it 15 minutes for appetizers?
Yes.
Well, the secret shopper got it 25. That just
Mm.
gives you the information.
Mm.
Maybe you need to be working on your timing, right?
Yes.
But they
Yes.
get their knickers in a twist. It's like, don't you understand? It's so, you know how many people we had and we were short staffed and people don't care.
So my listeners who know me well, and Mark, or like we've chatted. I have this large research company here in Australia, and it's mystery shopping, but it can be reports up to 600 pages over the last three
Well,
decades, and I can hear exactly what you're saying because I've sat across the table from CEOs for the last 3 decades who really want to look at all the insights. And we've got objective scoring and we've got subjective scoring, and we've got a very large team, but that have been with me for many years. But you're right, we're giving them the feedback. If you're saying that 21. So look at that objectively and say, okay, it's taken 25 minutes. Yes, we know we were saying, but what could we have done? And I'm sure this is what you go into, Mark. What could we have done proactively at the start when they've ordered the well done steak or they've come up to the register? We say, just letting you know that there's about a 45-minute wait. We'll be processing your order. We'll bring out some appetizers, some bread, or what, give them a suggestion there beforehand. But please, relax, enjoy yourself. We've got some fantastic cocktails over there. But like you can say something and within a few short seconds, now I'm primed. I know I've got 45 minutes first. I'm not going to be sitting there after 15 minutes. So to me, it's that feedback, Mark, that we can provide them that they can say, all right, we're going to be smashed, and that happens. But what can we do proactively? Now, I've seen clients over the years, there's a long line. And they've got one of the front staff come out, perhaps that doesn't work in that area, will come out with a whole lot of little bruschettas, slices of garlic bread, anything. Come up that line. What do people go? Oh, how nice, how thoughtful of them while I'm waiting in this line. But also when they get there, they go, oh, can I have some of that garlic bread? I wasn't going to order that, but gee, that was nice. So you may also have them add on sell. But what you've done is just calmed everybody down. Then it's
and
creating those expectations.
it's really interesting because there is a perception of time.
Mm.
And so one of the things that I do when I used to train frontline staff was you had to make absolutely sure when you put the order in, at some point, one or two times before the food gets there, you need to address your table. Have
Yes.
a small conversation with them. Just
Yes.
ensure that they fill up the water. Anything that you do between the time they give their order and the time they get their first meal or the
Mm.
appetizer or whatever, you being there helps subjugate the perception of time.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
worst thing that people do, and I see this in restaurants all the time, is like, oh my God, the food is late. It's running 25 minutes. I better not make eye contact with the customer. And they just kind of walk back and you're going, can I get like a glass of water? Can I get another cup of tea? But they're like, oh, I can't make eye contact because I have to tell them the food's going to be late.
But I
And it
was in a
happens
restaurant
time and
last
again.
night with my daughter, and because her back was the kitchen, I said, "None of these staff are looking at us." And in the end, I'm waving my menu, and my daughter's going, "Oh, mum!" And I said, "But exactly what you're saying, Mark. Like, and I don't. I think sometimes they do it, and they know that they're doing it. But I think sometimes they just don't look up. Like they get the plate, and they look, and I'm thinking they could look just to smile, just to say, "I know you're sitting there. I'll be with you in a moment." That's all I needed. Just
Yeah.
oh,
But it all boils down at the end of the day, Michelle, it all boils down to what is the expectation. What's the
yes,
expectation you want to set? And what
yes.
is the expectation you want to fulfill? And what's the expectation that you want to exceed? Because here's what happens. There are
Mm,
three possible responses to any situation.
mm.
They're like, I got what I paid for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that.
Right?
I got
I,
what
I, I got it. I went in, like, if the hotel had been $189 hotel, you would have gone in. I got what I paid for, clean sheets. It was clean enough room. It was fine. $189 walk out.
yes. Mm,
Done. There's another one that when they let you down, it's like, oh, what a shame.
mm, mm.
I went in, it's like, oh, what a shame. And then, of course, the opposite to that is, wow, I can't believe they did that.
Yes.
But we have those three things.
Mm.
The question is that the oh, what a shame moment is memorable.
Yes. Yes. Mm.
The neutral reaction, this is what I expected, there's nothing memorable about it.
Mm. Yes.
Nothing memorable. You went in. I talk in my book about going to a convenience store to buy a pack of gum,
Mm.
and nothing memorable. Went in, come out, Bob's your uncle.
Yes.
Nothing memorable about it.
Mm,
but there are experiences that stay in your mind and you go, my goodness, that was kind.
mm.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for your help. Right? Because somebody took time to fulfill and exceed your expectation.
Yes, yeah, just some, and it's just those moments, those little things. We've talked about those connections between, training the frontline teams in how to deliver these exceptional customer experiences. Let's for a moment look at the onboarding process, Mark, and actually sharing with those applicants when they're sitting in front of us, or sitting in front of the manager or the CEO or HR or people and culture, about what is the culture of our business? Are we attracting the right people? Have you got any thoughts about that? Instead of going, oh well, look, oh, in the old days, well, they've got a black pair of pants, they've got a white shirt, they fog up a mirror when they go past, so we'll just grab them because we just need a body there, and we can train them to smile. We can train them to be happy. I'm thinking, no, you can't. It's an uphill battle. It might, and then that will drop down. So because we never shared the culture, they perhaps never shared the value. So how do you see that connection right from the start about attracting the right people, giving them the experience on their first day that they're going to share with your customers?
So I do believe that everybody who comes to our brand is on a journey with us, whether that's an employee or a customer.
Mm,
Everybody's on a journey with us. And as they go through a journey, there are actual milestones that you can predict. And I talk about this chapter 18 of my book. It's
mm,
called Strings Attached is the name of my keynote. And when I talk about these really definable milestones that
mm.
people will reach. And if you can answer their questions and if you can fulfill their needs, they'll keep on moving and evolving with us. The
Yeah.
problem happens is that most people are disengaged. I like to call it they're wallowing in the pit of the tainted.
Mm.
Now, when you hire the wrong people into your business, you have a set of expectations. You're
Yes.
constantly butting heads against those expectations because the person you brought in doesn't necessarily have the personality type for that kind of business. A
Yes.
perfect example was I had when I was lived in Montreal, I had a fast food restaurant called NutriPasta,
Hmm.
and it was a open kitchen concept where we made pasta and cooked the pasta in front of your eyes.
Wow.
It was kind of like a Japanese teppanyaki, but Italian. And
Yes.
so you
Yeah.
ordered the pasta you wanted. We had the big kettle with the water in it. We had a 6 burner stove. And so if you wanted an arrabbiata, we put the spaghetti in, we put the bacon, we put the spices, and we started stirring. And then we flashed the pan with wine. We created a little bit of fire,
Mm.
topped it with a little tomato sauce. We put the cooked pasta in. We tossed it. Hey, would you like some extra Parmesan? And we topped Parmesan, a little bit more spicy. And then we served it
Mm.
right in front of your eyes, every single order.
Gosh.
The biggest challenge I had was finding cooks who had personality.
Yes.
I
Yes.
had cooks who could do the work,
Mm.
but to look up at customers and actually give a customer interaction, actually give an experience to the customer was very, very difficult to find.
Yes. Mm. Yeah, you're right.
And so think about this in the context in hotels. I remember I had housekeepers, and we'd get slammed, and we'd ask the housekeepers, "Could you come and help in banquets? You
Mm.
can like help bus tables and that sort of thing." And they
Yes.
said, as long as I don't have to talk to customers.
Yes.
And
Mm.
that was really interesting because the one thing I realized is housekeepers are very focused on details. They
Yeah.
want to be left alone. They want to do the work. That's their personality type. These are the people
Yes.
who shine,
Mm.
and they have absolute focus on details.
Yes.
But ask them to serve a customer, and it's like, no, that's a variable I can't handle,
Mm.
right? But then take a server and put them in housekeeping. You don't have the focus. It's a different personality type.
It is. It is
And
very.
so we have to know the personality we want for our customers.
Mm. Yes.
Now, you could say, well, I want outgoing, I want a little bit gregarious, but keep in mind that this outgoing, gregarious person also has to fit within a team,
Yes. Mm.
right? So if you want this really kind of gregarious personality, I want fun and da da da, you have to understand that people have these cycles. If somebody is extremely happy all the time, at some point they come down and they crash. And
Yes.
when they do, it is not pleasant.
Mm.
So, but you
Very.
have to understand the human dynamic of this, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's no different than casting for a play,
Mm. Very much so. Mm.
right? You're looking for, I have an image of what this character is going to be. I have an image of the kind of personality I want from them and what kind of demeanor I want. And so I'm going to be hiring people who are going to help me fulfill that expectation. And
Yes.
we have to do the same thing whenever we hire new people.
Mm.
And it's so hard because when you're short staffed, the question of, do you have a pulse
So
is not good enough. It's just not good enough.
it's not, it may be attractive for those few short seconds ago. It's not worth it because it's just going to cause so much. And so thank you for that because, so we've got them in the business now. So we've attracted the right people. They are great at frontline. They love working with customers. And all of a sudden we think they're really good at that. Let's make them a manager. So they become this, as you've called it, the incidental manager. And once again, oh, they're so focused. They love the stuff. But then they look at, well, now it's operations. We see this, don't we, a lot in with chefs. They go from on the pans, they love the creativity, and now they've become an executive chef where they're no longer on the pans, they've disconnected and they're out there. Not in all cases are they disconnected, but you've got to have the right people in the right roles. So how do we handle and manage these people that, I love working with middle managers. That's really is my passion, moving from that front line and moving them through. Have you got any ideas or insights looking from your perspective, Mark, in how do we help these incidental managers connect with their team to get the most out of them, but also to believe in themselves?
So one of the challenges is you're asking them, you get promoted, they're going to be now leading their friends, their colleagues, the
Yes.
people that they've worked side by side with.
Mm,
And so expectations change,
yes.
right? And so I could tell you from my first job as 17 years old, I worked at McDonald's. At 18-year-old, I was promoted to to a swing manager.
Right.
And
Gosh.
so I was responsible for my shift. And I thought, this is going to be a cakewalk. It's all my friends. It's like, this is going to be perfect. Because we work so awesome together. But as soon as I stepped into that role, expectations changed. All
Yes.
the things that made me stand out to be promotable
Mm,
was no longer viable when I got to that level.
mm.
It's not the same skill set.
No.
What made me good as a crew person or as a cook or a customer service agent, whatever, is not the same skills I need to be an effective leader. So
Mm,
first and foremost, it's like you have to do a lesson plan. You have to figure out what training is going to look like. How
yes.
we're going to help this person learn the skills to become really, really good. And unfortunately, all too often it's like, hey, Mark, you're really good at this. How about we promote you and then you can teach everybody to be as good as you?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it doesn't work that way.
No.
It never works that way.
It doesn't because you're right. You've been working with your peers, your friends, and all they say they've got the three categories. The ones that will wholly and solely support you and will counteract what comments may be said behind your back. The one that now we're buddies. I can take a longer break, or I can come in late, or I can choose when I wish to work. All those on those public holidays where I get double pay, or the ones that just can't wait to go. Stab you in the back because they believe they should have been chosen for the role. So it's not an easy journey being a middle manager, but it's selecting the right person, but it's training them and it's helping them, isn't it? And it's getting back to how do we set the stage for them?
Yes, it's setting the expectations.
Yes.
And this is where kind of you asked about onboarding earlier. I don't believe in onboarding. My philosophy is forever boarding,
Yes.
which means that as managers, we have to think less of being managers and more about being coaches now.
Mm,
That means that we need to take a look at our job descriptions, all the things that we have managers so busy doing, like all the little reports and all the stuff that we're getting them to do. It's
yes.
like, why can't we give that to somebody who's maybe paid a little less and
Yeah.
then use the magic of the manager to become a coach, to be
Mm,
able to sit down with people on their team and help them grow, help them develop. I
mm,
mean, I just watched, the hockey games,
mm.
right? Where I'm in Edmonton, the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup finals. At no point did the coach say, you know what? I think I'm going to get on the ice. I'm going to help solve this problem.
But yes. Yeah. Yeah.
They stayed on the bench, right? They
Yes.
kept coaching.
Mm,
Likewise, on a play, a director can't be an actor. I
mm.
mean, they could try, and I've seen it. I've seen people do it, but it's very difficult to see the show when you're in it,
Yes. Mm,
right? And so to be that coach, to be the one on the being able to look at the show and be able to pinpoint where the challenges are and pull people aside and say, hey, why don't we work on this? And why don't we try this? And what's your impression about this? You're in it. So tell me a little bit about what you're feeling.
mm.
Can we, right? And we start coaching rather than it's 8 a.m. Your shift is to do this, go.
Yes, yeah, and just press that button. Mark, I think we could talk for so much longer.
Oh,
I think we've
it's because I'm such a hospitality geek, Michelle. I'm just the biggest hospitality nerd.
It's wonderful when you can, and I love all my guests, but when we get in that groove, as I said, we could talk for a lot longer. I'd love for you to share with my audience, Mark, about how they can connect with you and how can they work with you, and we'll certainly put that in the show notes. But if you can just say that, but also about purchasing your book and anything about your business that I haven't asked you about that you could share with us and how that would assist my listeners in creating a business that they love and that people want to come to work with them as well as come to purchase from them.
Well, you said something very interesting before I jump into all that. You said the word the business that they love.
Mm,
The very first step, find tell the world why you love your business.
yeah.
Because if you could tell the world why you love your business, you'll be able to tell your staff why you love your business.
Mm,
And then your staff will be able to tell the customers why you, as a global whole, love the business. All
yes.
too often, I walk into businesses and you look around and it's like, there's not a lot of love here.
No.
And you see the owners and the chefs and people walking around. And I remember going into one particular place and I asked the manager, the owner, and he said he was the owner and he looked beaten. He looked defeated. And I
Mm,
said, can you take me back to when you started? And he goes, yeah, I started like 20 years ago. I said, what was that like? And all of a sudden his eyes shone and I could see animation come back into his face
yes.
and the love of what he did on day one.
Mm,
If you lose that, you need to go back to the beginning. Why did I do what we're doing?
yes.
And find that love. Because when you love it and you can tell your staff why you love it, and the staff can tell their customers why,
Mm.
you are on a track to winning this battle. So, having said that, if you want to get any more information from me, if you want to reach out, say hi, you can go to my website, marchaine.com. It's Mark spelled the French way because my father was from Belgium. And because of that, he spelled my name with a C. I don't know why, but he did. So it's Mark at marchaine.com. You can look at me, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can see my posts. And if you're interested, I also have my podcast at marchainelive.com. And just as a little secret, you can see Michelle's episode there too.
And it was live, and it was a lot of fun. And your book, we can get that on your website or at any good
Yes.
bookstore, Amazon.
Yes,
Yes.
you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on my website. There's also it goes directly to my printer. I think shipping is cheaper, but I don't know in Australia if it's
Yes.
how much would it cost. But you can get it on Amazon as well. Yeah.
Mm. And is it on Kindle or Audible or anything?
It is. It is. The audiobook is there. It is on Kindle. The nice thing with it is every chapter has a worksheet in it. And so
Perfect.
where I've seen the most success with it is that teams will take their management, the middle manager, frontline managers, they'll read through each chapter, they'll work on a worksheet, and then they get together once a week. They review the worksheet on how they can apply the learning to their business.
Mm.
And then they assign the next chapter. And it's been amazing. I've seen grocery stores use it, and I've seen an optometrist office use it. And
Wow.
it's been brilliant.
That's fantastic. So the book is Lights, Camera, Action. Now, we started this morning, Mark, in opening the curtain and putting the stage lights on. As we draw to a close now, the stage lights become to dark and we step back from that front of the stage and the curtains close very, very slowly. May I thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the very best in beautiful Edmonton in Canada. And audience, please connect with Mark. He is a man that has got so much information. We have only just touched the tip of the iceberg. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Take care.